Next item, please.
Okay, for the next item, there will be a call transferred here shortly. The consultant will be on the line. Let me just answer that. Okay, so item 38 is the update on the 2021 redistricting process.
Good morning, Natasha.
Hi, good morning. All right, good morning, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'm Natasha Drain, Governmental Relations and Legislative Officer. Today I'm providing an update on the 2021 redistricting process. I'd like to start by saying that we'll be back before you on May 4th for a board workshop on the 2020 redistricting process, which will include a comprehensive overview of the new laws affecting this process and other requirements. And staff will also present a proposed 2021 project plan where we will seek your feedback. This presentation will give you a broad overview of the process, as well as the new requirements under the new Fair Maps Act, so as to give you a sense of the work ahead in the coming year. In the first portion of this presentation, I'll very briefly share what redistricting is, the timelines associated with census data, and when the county must adopt final maps, possible changes to this timeline, as well as give you a broad overview of the Fair Maps Act, as I just mentioned. Redistricting will look very different than it did 10 years ago under these new requirements. In the second half of the presentation, I'll share what staff has done so far to prepare for redistricting in this new environment, including forming an internal project team, hiring a redistricting consultant, and finally, I'll discuss some next steps. Okay, so what is redistricting? This is the process that occurs every 10 years following the completion of the U.S. Census. The Sacramento County Board of Supervisors is required to redraw the supervisorial district boundaries, ensuring that those boundaries have substantially equal populations and comply with the Voting Rights Act of 1965, which generally prohibits voting practices and procedures, including redistricting, that discriminate on the basis of race, color, or membership in a language minority group. Okay, in order to redraw district boundaries, the county must use census data. There have been many questions about when the county will receive this data because of all of the reported delays in the release of the information. The census data was delayed for a couple of reasons, but primarily due to COVID impacts. Slide 4 includes two possible timelines associated with when the county will receive the census data. The timeline at the top of the slide is what county staff assumes will occur given what the census has reported. By September 30th, the Census Bureau will release census data to all states. By October 31st, California will release state population adjusted data to local jurisdictions. While the state will receive the data at the end of September, the California statewide database, which is responsible for putting the state database together, will begin a 30-day process of population adjusting the data as required by the Elections Code. The county is required to use this population adjusted data and must wait to receive it from the state. What the state is doing during this time frame is population adjusting the data to reallocate the prisoner population by last known residential address at which the prisoner was last domiciled. The state will also include historical elections results information to assist the state and locals with Voting Rights Act compliance. Finally, by December 15th, the county must adopt its final maps. This means that from the time that the county receives the state population adjusted data to when the county is required to adopt the final maps is a 6-week time frame. This is a quick turnaround to do the work required, but there's quite a bit that staff and the board can do in advance of receiving the data in late October. Again, this is the timeline that staff is currently working under. However, the second timeline at the bottom of the slide illustrates how the county might receive the census data a little earlier than expected. We learned last week that there could be possible changes to this time frame. We understand that it is possible that the state will receive census data in mid to late August instead of September, but in a format that's called a legacy format. The statewide database has indicated that if it receives the data in this format, it will take 2 weeks to convert that data into a workable format, at which time it will begin its 30-day process of population adjusting the data. This means that the county could possibly receive the required data 2 to 4 weeks sooner than we anticipated. However, we will continue to work under the assumptions of that first timeline at the top of the slide. But I think the good news here is that there's a chance that we'll receive this information a little bit sooner. We don't know when we'll get the confirmation of whether we'll receive the information sooner, but as soon as we hear, we will certainly let you know. Okay. I also wanted to briefly mention SB 594 by Senator Steve Glazier. CSAC and other county partners are working on amendments to this bill, but in its current form, it would clarify that counties will meet the December 15th deadline if they pass an ordinance by this date. There is some concern that because an ordinance takes effect 30 days after passage, counties would not be in compliance with the December 15th deadline. In other words, the concern is that counties would have to pass an ordinance by November 15th to comply with the December 15th deadline. This bill attempts to clarify that when the county passes the ordinance on its second reading, that passage constitutes complying with the December 15th deadline. The bill would also allow the county to adopt its final maps by resolution as opposed to adopting it by ordinance, which is what cities do. We are supportive of this legislative effort, and I will keep you informed of the process. As I mentioned in the board letter, staff and county council recommend that the board do its first reading by December 7th and its second reading of its ordinance by December 14th. If for some reason we think we need to be more conservative with this timeline, we'll certainly let you know as well. Okay. While the county has about 6 weeks to consider draft and final maps, as I mentioned earlier, there's quite a bit of work that we can do in advance of actually receiving the census data. This other work relates to the new requirements under the Fair Maps Act, which I want to talk a little bit here about. Assembly Bill 849 by Assemblymember Rob Bonta was passed in 2019. It was co-sponsored by the California Common Cause. It's intended to maximize public participation and increase transparency in the redistricting process by outlining specific requirements relating to the county's webpage, public engagement, public hearings, and the maps. I'll briefly share some of these new requirements because it will illustrate some of the work that's ahead of us. Relating to website requirements. First, the county is required to create and maintain a webpage for 10 years dedicated to redistricting. The webpage must include an explanation of the redistricting process and how to submit public comments in all legally required languages. The webpage must also include links to the hearing calendar, notices and agendas, recordings or summaries of the hearings, and draft and final maps. Staff has already begun work, and the county's redistricting website will be operational by your May 4th board workshop. Relating to public engagement, the county must identify local organizations, reach out to these organizations, and provide education information about the process and how to participate in the process. We must also create a sign-up process on our website for those interested in receiving information about the redistricting process. We'll do this through GovDelivery, and we'll tie that into our webpage, which again will be up by May 4th. We must identify all applicable languages in the county as required by the Elections Code. For now, that's English, Spanish, and Chinese in both Mandarin and Cantonese dialects. We must also create a process to receive public comment, including a dedicated web form and email address and a physical address. Relating to public hearings, the county must hold at least 4 public hearings to allow the public to give input on the draft and final maps. One of these 4 hearings must be held outside of regular business hours. We must ensure that all locations are accessible to persons with disabilities. We must provide a 5-day online notice for these required hearings, though that's reduced to 3 days after November 18th. We must maintain and update on the county redistricting webpage a calendar of all the hearings. We must provide live translation upon request, and we must record the hearings or prepare written summary of each public comment and the board deliberations. As it relates to the maps, we must enable the public to submit written testimony as well as to submit maps. We are restricted from posting the draft maps until 21 days, post-release of the state-adjusted data. Draft maps must be posted for at least 7 days before the final maps. And then finally, we're required to add demographic data to draft maps and must use the state-adjusted data as we talked about earlier. In January, the County Executive's Office formed a project team consisting of the departments most involved in the redistricting process, including the County Executive's Office with David Villanueva and myself, voter registration and elections with Courtney Bailey Canelos, public information Kim Nava, Technology, Rami Zachariah and Mark Valentine, who's assisting with project management, the Clerk of the Board, Flo Evans, and County Counsel, Krista Whitman. Additionally, given the major changes in state law relating to redistricting, as a first step in the redistricting process this year, the CEO's office solicited proposals for professional redistricting services. In March, an interview panel consisting of the county project team, the board chair, Supervisor Frost, and Vice Chair Supervisor Natoli interviewed 3 firms. National Demographics Corporation, or NDC as we call them, received the highest score. We're currently wrapping up contract negotiations with NDC. NDC has been in business more than 40 years, and during that time has served hundreds of local governments in the districting and redistricting process. They are well positioned to assist the board and staff with this process. NDC will provide comprehensive services, including educating the board and the public on the Fair Maps Act and all the other requirements related to redistricting, assisting the county in procuring an online mapping tool to allow greater public involvement in this process. The firm will advise on public outreach and engagement and will provide materials to assist in this effort. And NDC will draft maps, taking into consideration, of course, the input of this board and the input of the public as well. And this is my final slide. It is a draft project timeline, and I refer to this as a draft because I expect that this will change after we meet with the NDC on April 14th for our kickoff meeting. And what I want to do is come back to you on May 4th with this timeline, assuming we do readjust it, and I want to get your feedback on the timeline. I've broken down the work into 4 quarters. The quarter 1, of course, is behind us, but as a reminder, during those months, we formed a project team, we issued an RFP, and we selected a consultant. In quarter 2, we will inform the board of our progress, starting with this meeting. We'll hold a project planning kickoff meeting, as I just mentioned, with NDC on April 14th, where we'll finalize a proposed redistricting project plan. We'll come back to you on May 4th with a workshop that will be part educational and part discussion and feedback on the final project plan, and we will also begin the public outreach process. Quarter 3 is all about public outreach and the initial data analysis. We will draft a robust public outreach plan that we will bring back to you on May 4th for your review and for your feedback. One of the outreach mechanisms that staff is recommending that is not required, but we think is prudent, is to conduct 5 public outreach workshops, 1 in each supervisorial district, assuming we'll be able to gather by then. If not, we'll hold them electronically or virtually. These public workshops would be in addition to the 4 required public hearings on the maps, and this recommendation will be included in that public outreach plan. And then finally, in quarter 4, this is all about drafting the maps, receiving input from the board, as well as the public, and finalizing the maps for board adoption. Okay, with that, I'd just like to conclude by saying that the county has a lot of work, as you can see, ahead of it in the coming months. But guided by NDC, we look forward to assisting the board in this process this year. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Natasha, and thank you to everyone who participated in the interviews and all the organization that you did to help us pull it together. You're amazing, in my mind. And Supervisor Natoli had some questions.
Okay.
Well, I'll just second. You're amazing. So, not just in my mind, but you are. Thanks, Natasha. And again, thanks to our staff, certainly, for the preparation going into this. You're going to come back to us a little less than a month from now. And one of the things I think would be useful beyond just talking about process, because having participated in the interviews, there's some data out there. Again, it's not what we can rely on, obviously, as you've outlined, for any mapping considerations of the Fair Maps Act. But there was information that actually showed the variation, at least estimated, and I assume that's publicly available. So I think that would be helpful to have that, Natasha, because again, it was, I think, useful. Just in my mind, it was a matter of one of the points that was made in one of the presentations. But I think that would be useful to show at least what the estimated population is by district. There was no more demographics behind it than that, but there have been ongoing population estimates that are provided annually through different sources, and they're not what we're going to rely on, obviously, for the process you've outlined. But I would hope that we could at least have that visual to show, and and talk a little bit about the variation. And there were different approaches in the interviews about what folks might suggest as consultants. Again, and certainly we'll hear that presentation more fully on the 4th of May. But I do think that information would be helpful, because I think it kind of sets a tone as to what, at least using some databases, what information is available relative to population. So I don't know if you want to respond to that or not.
We're happy to do that. I'll work with NDC and make sure that in that presentation we include the information. Yeah. And they are on the line, so if there's anything that they want to speak to, we can have them do that.
That was not that was, and again, just to be clear, it wasn't part of what their presentation was, but it was one of the presenters.
Right. No, but we can have them prepare similar information and bring that to you.
Yeah, I think it gives a good backdrop for some of the conversations and the work that, as you've outlined, the pace is going to be pretty rapid come the fall. But there's a lot of groundwork that needs to be laid. But I would like to see us have that information as a part of it. So anyway, thanks. That's all I had.
Thank you, Supervisor Natoli. Some of us haven't been through this yet. I think
3 out of 5.
3 out of 5 have not. So this will be interesting. Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, it's a good thing Supervisor Natoli is still with us, because he's been through it. But Natasha, yes, you are amazing. Thank you very much, and staff. It's my first time doing this, and when you get to the public outreach, definitely appreciate your suggestion to do one of those workshops in each of the districts. I think it's always difficult to get some folks to engage in this process. Certainly that will have such a dramatic impact on their lives. And as far as the 4 public hearings, I mean, if it's safe to do so, and even if we, I would recommend that we consider maybe decentralizing a couple of those meetings as well, if possible. I don't know if the board has done that in a while, but maybe we could have a discussion about that, and maybe 1 or 2 of those meetings actually being in different parts of the county, just to improve the level of, I think, access and engagement in this process. I think that would be a good thing. But thank you very much.
Agreed. And I know at this time we do have Douglas Johnson, who's the consultant with National Demographic. And Douglas, are you on the phone, and would you like to say a couple words?
Sure, happy to. And I'm also joined by Justin Levitt and Doug Yoakum from my NDC team. So we do appreciate all the work that the county staff have put into this. It has been great to work with you so far, and we look forward to working with you on all the work that remains to go forward. And just on the estimated data issue, yes, we have been actually working very hard for the last about 6 or 8 weeks to nail down the best estimates we can get, and we're very close. So we'll have a whole presentation for you as part of the workshop on that. But we are happy to answer any specific questions you have, but mainly just looking forward to working with you through this process. Thank you.
Thank you. And did Justin or Dawn wish to say anything?
This is Dr. Justin Levitt. I'm happy to just say a couple words. It's very nice to work with you. I'm working on the estimates right now and have been for the last few weeks, so I look forward to sharing them with you at our next meeting.
Thank you, Doctor. And we do have a question from Supervisor Natoli at this time.
Yeah, just kind of piggybacks a bit off of Supervisor Desmond's point. I would just say that in District 5, it's the largest geographically, and to pick kind of a central location, I have we'll have the second largest city in the county currently in the district, but also there are 4 cities and then a fairly large, although certainly population-wide, doesn't come anywhere near the population, the unincorporated area that Supervisor Desmond has, but. And I don't know, it may be a little difficult if we're actually going to have physical sites for folks to come to pick a place in the in District 5 where access would be kind of equal for everyone as it relates to travel distances and so forth. And so I'm just going to offer this as a point. And again, if we need to do for other reasons in other districts, another meeting or 2, I think it behooves all of us, and certainly having had a little bit of experience over time, that I think even with what the law has prescribed, the access certainly via the methods we've been using now in great practice for a year relative to internet and to Zoom and so forth. Those are all great, and people can go to those sources and they'll be retained and archived and available for people at their leisure. But I do think if we're going to do physical meetings, we may want to look at adjusting that. And I do like the idea of maybe decentralizing and having a meeting or two or three even out in the communities, because this is a very important, not just exercise, but a very important process. It certainly provides the backdrop for where folks will seek to represent the people of this county and certainly of those districts. And so it requires a little more legwork, and assuming some of the COVID restrictions that kind of inhibit us right now, as we move along, we're able to have people assemble in different locations. I would suggest that's a pretty good idea. And I would also note that as you go through this, keeping us all informed, because again, even if you're having a meeting in in another geographical portion of the county, I think there'll be an interest by all of us. And so it may be, and I think we talked about this, that you want to notice the Brown Act, so that we can hear from other constituents, if we choose to, and all of us can be present, at those locations and when those public meetings are held, or if they're done via, the electronic methodology, that still make sure that we can be there. And I know Flo and you and Natasha have talked about that, but this is going to consume a bit of time, but it's very important, and it will certainly be the backdrop for representation on this board for for a decade or more. Thanks.
Great, and I didn't mean to pass you by, Mr. Don Locum, if you wanted to say anything.
Doug.
That's okay, I'm good. Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Okay, and we'll
work with Mr. Natoli on a location. That's something that, because of the size of this district, we'll need to work out.
That was plural locations too, right?
I'm here, Supervisor.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks for all the work up to this point. I know we have a lot to do, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what my district's going to look like at the end of this year. It's like a mystery, so we'll work our way through it, and this is a receive and file, so thank you very much, Natasha, for the update.